Welcome, everybody, to Juice Pro Wrestling, episode 66. God damn, we got a fucking great show for you today. We're on location today at Sreten's Sanctuary, an undisclosed location. I can't really tell you where that's at. Big Ed the Assassin's back on the podcast.
What up?
What up, man?
Route 66, episode 66, son.
Route 666.
Ed bringing those pearly whites.
Yeah. And our very special guest, a guy that I know Ed's been super excited to talk to, as well as myself, the manager of champions, the man who calls it right down the middle. Fuck yeah. Not just a legend in ECW, but a legend in pro wrestling in general, Bill Alfonso.
ECW. What's happening, Bill?
Daddy. All good, brother. I'm glad to be on Juice Pro Wrestling with you guys, man.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, man. So, Fonzie, just real quick, to kind of let people that may not be familiar with you out in the audience that are listening, I mean, you've had, like, when we talked on the phone before we recorded, in my opinion, I mean, you're probably the only ref and or manager I can think of that hit every major company except minus, like, AEW or something nowadays. Kind of give the people an idea of just what you've been up to since like the ECW days, real quick.
Well, when I got ECW finished up in 2000, I had been on the road probably about 25 years with all the companies and stuff. So I really didn't know what to do with myself. I started, and so it took me a year to unwind from being on the road all those years. And I've been just chilling and relaxing. I do some conventions, and I do some autograph signings and stuff like that, a few shows here and there. Just enjoying my life down in Tampa Bay, Daddy.
Fuck yeah, that sounds good. Now, and I like how you said it took you a year to transition from being on the road. How rough is that?
Maybe more.
Yeah. I mean, you can never really get it out of your system, though, you know?
No, absolutely not, man. Because, brother, I was on the road. I had a full-time job from 1978 to 2000 without any time off.
Damn.
The road is brutal. Ask any of the guys that's had a full-time job or contract with Vids or WCW, and the traveling is just brutal.
Now, speaking of 78, that's when you got your start, right?
Yes, actually, yeah, it was.
What was the first match you ever reffed?
Well, the first match I really got paid for was in Lubbock, Texas. I was traveling for Dave here, the Cuban Assassin. He worked some in WCW and Florida and Puerto Rico and Oregon. I went out there with him and was trying to break in. Rocky Johnson and King Curtis sent me out there. But they had all their own referees already. Dave Manning and a few other ones in Texas. It was 3 territories. So my first match was Terry Funk and the Sheik, Sabu's uncle, in a chain match.
Yes.
It was crazy.
Holy shit, man. That's a part of history, man.
Yeah, and it was at the tail end of the Sheik's career, too. He didn't have much longer after that. It would have mean he had a few more years, but he had already been wrestling for 30 or 40 years,
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. That's why Sabu and I got along so good, because when I first met Sabu, I said, hey, my first professional match I got paid for was your uncle, the Sheik and Terry Funk in a chain match. He liked that. We got along perfectly ever since.
Fuck yeah.
That's badass. Tell us a little bit about the road. Like, on an average year, how many days out of that year would you be on the road?
Oh, my God. When I got a full-time job and contract with Eddie Graham, Florida Championship Wrestling, Dusty was the booker, Jay Dillon was the assistant booker. We worked 7 days a week, almost 350 days a year.
Hey, like Ric Flair said, twice on Sunday.
Absolutely. It was crazy. It took a while to get used to, but you get used to it for a few years, in nature. But that's just traveling, because it's not including in the ring and all that, being away from home. Crazy.
Oh yeah.
But they paid you well, so it overcompensated for the brutalness of the road.
Right.
So at the end of the week or bi-weekly, I get a check from Ted Turner, after the road 2 weeks. Say, man, that was hard. I'm going to give you a schedule in a few minutes. And you say, damn, that's crazy. But I got a big fat check. I said, man, this is nice. Where else am I going to make this kind of money? You know what I mean? And having fun and traveling the world. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Pussy capital of the world, too, from what I hear.
Hey, so let me ask you this, Bill. So about How long after you got into the business where you were just like, man, this shit is for me. This is my life. You fell in love with it. Like, yeah, I know all the traveling, it's demanding and everything like that, but was it immediately? Did it have to grow on you or what?
No, I was in love with the business before I got a job.
That's badass.
What was your first exposure in the professional wrestling, like as a kid? Or?
Well, I didn't know I was living in the hotbed, Tampa, Florida, with Eddie Graham and all those spectacular people. I didn't know wrestling was so big throughout the South period. And my dad was a friend of a sports editor. He wrote his name was Frank Klein. He wrote results of different things, baseball, wrestling, whatever, in the newspaper. And that's with my dad. And he said, "Hey, Steve, I get comp tickets to wrestling. You got some kids at home. Here's some comp tickets." So my dad came home with a couple of comp tickets. Said, "Hey, I got wrestling tickets for you, Billy." And I said, "Wrestling? What's that?" Didn't know anything about it. Never seen it on TV. I was about 12 or 13. So I was, I didn't really, so no interest. But I said, curiosity got me. I said, let me just go check this out. I went that Tuesday night in Tampa. There was Eddie Graham, Harley Race, all these people.
Fuck.
And I fell in love with it that night.
Hell yeah, man. That's a hell of a story.
It was crazy, yeah. And I wanted to wrestle. I was young, so I said, maybe I'll grow up to be a little bit bigger, but I couldn't make the weight class or compete in wrestling. So the next best thing, was a referee. So I met a lot of guys before I broke in and became friends, and they helped me get the business, such as King Curtis, Paul Jones from Charlotte, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, and the Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson.
Who was bigger, Rocky Johnson or Dwayne?
Well,
size-wise.
Dwayne's an international fucking mega fucking star.
Yeah.
Well, Rocky Johnson was a big star in his day, just pound for pound. No internet, no movies, star wrestling. He was a big star.
Fonzie, I think he's what Ed's trying to ask you is just mass body wise. Who do you think had the better body, better build?
Yeah, Rocky Johnson was.
He was cut.
Yeah, he was fucking. He had a big chest, man.
Probably had
big
a big
chest,
old
big
dick.
arms.
He was
probably Daddy.
Yeah. Oh, I love you, Fonzie. He was probably pulling in a lot of women too. Well, I mean, I don't know.
He traveled a lot. Rocky Johnson traveled a lot with his wife.
Yeah. That's...
And The Rock, and his name was Dewey. I remember him being 7 or 8 years old. I was already refereeing in the early 80s in Florida, and Rocky Johnson was on the card in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And Rocky Johnson brought his wife and Dewey, which is The Rock, to the matches, and they stayed in the back, in the parking lot. And fucking Dewey was doing cartwheels in the back and flipping and shit. He was a natural athlete. So it was kind of cool to, when I see him every once in a while, I remind him of that story.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Would you say he's the biggest thing to ever hit professional wrestling, or to come out of professional wrestling? Yeah.
In his day, it was Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin, The Rock. The Rock's pretty fucking big. He's made the most money. He's the biggest star ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But before The Rock, it was Hulk Hogan. He was the biggest star.
Yep.
Oh, for
sure.
There's
only a handful of them.
What's your relationship like with the Hulkster? Can you tell us a little bit about him and any encounters?
Yeah, pretty cool. We're both from Tampa.
Right.
We're both born on August 11th. He's 3 years older than me. So we celebrate our birthday sometime together. He was pretty cool to me. I'll tell you a story how cool he was to me. You remember? Oh, I got to start off with I got 2 car wrecks in 20 minutes with Jimmy Hart.
Oh, shit.
And that was on the way to do Thunder in Paradise, Hulk Hogan's TV series.
Yeah,
we were shooting a pilot at the Dodge Cigar in St. Petersburg, Florida. And me and Jimmy flew in together, and Giant Gonzalez was flying in. I was Giant Gonzalez's personal assistant for 3 years.
No shit.
We were together every day for 365 days a year for 3 years, every day. Great guy. Had great fun, made a lot of money.
Yeah. What was he, like 7'6", 7'7"?
He was 7'8".
Damn.
And they built him as 8 foot.
Yeah. Yep.
In one of those pictures I texted you, not too long ago, that's him, the Hogan and Giant. Look at that picture. Man, what a giant.
Yeah.
So anyway, me and Jimmy Hart, we were flying from California back to Tampa International because the movies that take place in Tampa, the pilots. So me and Jimmy, and the Giant was 2 or 3 hours. Me and Jimmy got in about 11 o'clock a.m., and the Giant Gonzalez was going to get in maybe by 2 o'clock. Going to pick him up, go to the Star, check in, and start filming the movie the next day. So me and Jimmy get a rent-a-car, get a Cadillac, and we're going to go get a haircut and go have lunch, and then go pick up Giant Gonzalez at the airport. So after the haircut, me and Jimmy were driving to go get some lunch. Some lady took a red light and T-boned us.
Oh, no
We
shit.
were about a mile from the airport. I mean, the car was so bad. It was crazy. And Jimmy Hart said, oh, my God, it was a pretty cool thing. But one way to pick up the Giant, I can't be late to pick up Giant Gonzalez.
Yeah.
So I told the cop, I said, look, we're only a mile from the airport. I think I can drive in the car. I think I was at a flat tire. The hood was smoking. The door was fast, glass all over. I said, look, if I drive it to the airport, turn it and get another rental-car, then I got to, go do the movie and shit. So the cop said, okay, if you think you can make it. So Jimmy said, he's driven me. He said, well, I'm going to get in the back seat because I don't trust you drive. It was the other lady's fault, but he was driving me, right? So he jumped in the back seat. We go about a half a mile. We're at a red light. And I said, Jimmy, you're not going to believe this. And the car rear-ended us, pushed us out to an intersection, and the fucking cars following us because it was crazy. So anyway, 2 wrecks in 20 minutes. We totaled the Cadillac was totaled. But we were okay. Now it's scratch on us.
That's good, man.
So we go to the movie with Hogan. We're there for maybe 2 weeks or whatever it was, 2 weeks, every day shooting with the pilot. And like the last day of the shooting, Hulk Hogan's son gets in a bad jet ski accident. So Hogan says, Fonzie, my son got an accident, I got to go. Because you all supposed to get a check from the movie people up that day. He said, I'll see you at the airport tomorrow. We're both flying now. So he went to take care of his son. His son was okay. So Hogan met me at the airport the next day, and he brought a check, and it was blank. He said, I just fill out the check, whatever you want for the 2 weeks you were here. Like, that was pretty generous, right?
Yeah.
So he's that kind of guy. He's a money guy. He's a super, treated me like fucking gold.
Fuck
Had
yeah.
a great time with him.
You ever get a chance?
And a big draw.
Oh, yeah.
You ever get a chance to go to the beach shop?
Yeah, sure, in Clearwater, yeah.
Yep.
That's 30 minutes from my house.
Yeah, we were.
I go there once in a while, yeah.
Yeah, we were out there. What was it, back in I think 14 or 15? Remember when I brought you that Hogan shirt?
Yeah.
And so we were there. We ended up meeting Nick, his boy, and then in the back you heard you heard something in the back, and he was saying something. You heard some mumbling. All of a sudden, you heard "brother." I'm like, that's fucking Hogan, dude. Like, so we seen him walking across the street. I'll tell you what, even for his age, man, that guy is still in great shape.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he sure is.
So is clanging
Sure
and
is. All
banging,
the
man.
those big leg drops he drops, you know what I mean? And I think he's had surgery on his hip. He got a new hip.
Yeah.
New hip, a lot of back surgeries, too. I think he said he's actually shrank. He's lost some tailbone or some shit from doing the leg drop.
Hey, so let me ask you this. I got to break into it. So, I'm a huge ECW fan, dude.
yeah.
I loved it back in the day. To me, I'm going to tell you right now, I have not been this excited about wrestling since ECW with the whole AEW emergence and stuff like that. I think what they're doing is awesome. The last pay-per-view that we watched was just, it was awesome, and it's crazy because it's bringing up those old feelings again back in our teens and shit like that. You remember Juice? We used to get together all the time and watching
Oh yeah,
ECW.
it's exciting. They could anything new, and plus they're good. They have so much talent there, and they're doing something opposite from Vince, so it's all good, man.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of ECW. We were like an underground, but they got so much money behind them. They're going to be successful.
Oh, yeah, big time. And that was the thing I respected the hell about all you guys in ECW is there wasn't a shit ton of money, and, man, did you guys just perform your asses off.
Right. We were making maybe $22 million a year, but spending $27.
And how much was Paul using
to get by.
How much was Paul using, though, to fight off lawsuits and all that shit?
A lot. Plus, his dad was a super lawyer, got out of him.
Yeah.
Got a lot of stuff. Plus, he had some real good friends that were lawyers. So We
Yeah.
were, way out of a lot of stuff. But how do we use all that music, brother, and not pay for it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was crazy. You couldn't do that now.
No.
You put something on the internet, and you'll get a text from Google and say, "Hey, you can't play that."
Well, shit. We did that with your
We played Pantera's Walk on that promo video
Right.
we did for you. But here's the cool thing: I didn't get anything from the U.S. It was like this video has been silenced in Luxembourg, and I'm like, okay, fuck it. It's well, yeah, Alex Wright can't listen to it. But it is weird, like you're saying. I've had I took video footage of Glenn Danzig at Riot Fest a couple years ago, and I just posted it, and I said, hey, this is him, this is his band, this is the song he's playing. It was a great fucking time. And next thing you know, I'm getting hit up for copyright shit for a live video that I took. Like, fuck all that, you know?
That's crazy. So, Bill.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we couldn't do that now like we did, in '95.
No. When the ECW, the album, I remember when that dropped. It had Sandman on the cover, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
that man with the barbed wire and the cane.
Yeah.
But what they had for Walk for Van Damme, they had, what was it, Kilgore or something like that was the band.
Yeah.
They were all covers. It wasn't like the actual bands, I believe.
I think that was kind of maybe a loophole or whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, so,
Right. I don't know how that worked out, but they sold a lot of them. You know what I mean? This was the ECW. Anything we did that had once or twice sold really tremendous. All the T-shirts and merchandise, that kept us going a lot, too. We were doing safe. A third of the revenue was from merchandise.
Damn.
oh shit, dude! I remember back in the day, we had a bunch of ECW shirts and shit like that. Dreamer, Van Damme, Sabu, Taz, you know. So
ECF and W, all the
oh
things.
fuck yeah, that's like one of my. That's to me the ECF and W shirt is, in my opinion, is equally as powerful as the NWO shirts. I mean, that's how much I fucking believed in ECW back in the day.
Well, and look at all the parody shirts that are out that everybody makes.
Yep.
You know, whether it's other podcasts or wrestlers. I remember EC3 had one. You had the ECF and 3. You know, everybody's done that one.
Yep, for sure. So, Fonzie.
Yeah, pound for pound, ECW snuck in there and hit a home run and created a market that was like a black market, like an underground fucking wrestling type thing. And then we came a little more, national once we got different TVs. But yeah, we were big, man, pound for pound. You know, we couldn't compete with Vince. They're a $1 billion company, but man, they sure did love us.
I'll tell you what, though, you guys were a needle in Vince's heart, though. You know, you may not have had the firepower and all that stuff, but holy shit, man, you guys made an impact. You know. So, Fonzie, tell me.
And Vince loved us. Vince loved us. He was
giving you guys money.
Vince floated us $1 million. When I say us, I mean, the company, wasn't my company, but I worked there. I feel like I was part of it.
Right.
Vince gave us $1 million to get by so we wouldn't close up. We lasted another year,
Yeah.
Vince loved us. Vince liked us. His son liked us a lot.
Yeah. It just sucked what happened, like, after like, everything got bought out and everything. It just, everything kind of went a little bit downhill and everything. And I'm gonna chalk that up to the whole, WWE kind of getting out of the Attitude Era and more of like the, hey, we went public, now they got shareholders, and there's certain things that they have to do. But hey, Fonzie, so tell me about the Beulah hardcore match back in '97, man.
What was that? As good as it gets, isn't it? Wasn't that the pay-per-view, the show?
Yeah, it was some big show, but it's been on 4 or 5 different DVDs. It was pretty cool. You had to be there to really feel it, but we had been, she was with Tommy Dreamer, and of course I was with Ed Sabu, and we've been working around each other for months, and the people wanted to see us connect, me and Beulah, do something. And so finally it was made, and I talked with Paul Heyman. I said, Paul, we're 2 non-wrestlers. We can't go out there and, do any wrestling stuff. You know what I mean? With this whole look fight. So we can have like a street fight or, So that's what we did, and it turned out to be one of Paul Heyman's, top favorite matches.
Yeah.
And the blood was great. It worked out really good. What we did for 7 minutes was documented and still talked about. It was really cool.
Oh,
to be
shit.
involved in stuff like that.
You had that crimson mask going like no other, Fonzie.
Well, it was hard. I couldn't duplicate that. It was just the right. She could have hit me 50 times. That would have never happened again. You know what I mean? It was just the luck of the Irish. I busted open, all juiced stuff. Like juice pro wrestling, that was all juice stuff.
Yeah.
It happened like 30 seconds into the match. Thank God it only lasted 7 minutes, but it was really cool.
What was it that actually got you, that opened you up like that?
That tin sheet stuff, somehow she got it from a fan, and somehow the fan like shaved one of the edges off.
Oh.
I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but it wasn't like razor sharp, but it was, kind of sharp like he was dragging it on the cement or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what called me. That's what busted me up. A lot of people think I got juice, but I didn't. It was that.
Yeah, no shit. So there were
Yeah.
it was from that pan. It wasn't even from blading or anything like that.
Exactly.
No shit, man. So
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I'm anxious to hear some ECW stories. I mean, in your opinion, what are some of your favorite matches looking back that you were part of? Whether it was Taz, whether it was Sabu, or anything, or Rob Van Dam. Tell me.
Taz and Sabu had some classic matches when we did the switch, and we're trying to get them together. They chased each other for months. Finally, they had the match. It was really good. They had to be there. It was our Hulk Hogan and, you know what I mean, in the main event of Madison Square. But,
I remember when Taz broke, what was it? He broke Sabu's fucking neck, isn't it?
yeah, that back suplex or something, yeah.
Yeah, and then he came back. Like, I'll remember that. I forget what show it was at, but I remember Taz being there and the lights fucking go off, and then there's Sabu and the fucking, right? Dude, it's intense as shit.
Pointing at the fucking ceiling. And,
Yeah.
Dude, it was great.
I was only supposed to, in 95, I had just left WWF. It was WWF, not WWE.
Right.
In 93, late 94. And I had worked with Paul Heyman in Florida Championship Wrestling in the 80s. In the 90s, I worked with him in WCW. I've been friends with him for years. And I didn't know anything about ECW, so I just finished up my contract, just left Spit, and was enjoying my first 2-3 months off. I said, okay, this is pretty cool. And I get a phone call, and it's Paul Heyman. Hey, Fonzie. Hey, Paul, I haven't talked to you in a while. He said, look, I got this company in Philly, ECW. Would you come up and do this little angle for 4 or 6 weeks, and then, we're to do something, and you take off? I said, okay, sure. We were friends, so I came up as fresh off of WWF TV on Monday nights and stuff.
They got you fucked up with that E too, don't they?
Yeah, and so he wanted to bring me in to be anti-violent, come in there with a bow tie, real,
Calling it down the middle, man.
orientated in the family entertainment and shit. And ECW is hardcore, brother.
Yeah.
Blood and guts, death match, high-paid death match, all kind of shit.
Yeah.
So when I was stopping the violence, the people started hating me. So the thing was, I do that, and then 911 choke slams me, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Remember
And then I go back home, and so it worked out so good. The Flamer wanted to keep me, and I was there 5 years. Because I transitioned from the referee to Taz's boy, then to Van Dam. So I had a 5-year, absolutely on top run. It's sensational.
Fuck yeah. Who now? Be honest. Shoot straight with me here for a second, Fonzie. Out of the 3 gentlemen that you managed, who was your favorite?
I think Van Dam, because he was just so
So cool.
It's really hard. Sabu and all 3 of them had their own thing.
Right.
But Van Dam was so special in what he could do. And Sabu was so talented and hardcore. He was just unbelievable stuff, too. But, it's hard to say. It's hard to put a tag on your favorite,
Yeah, I gotcha.
And all 3 of them
All
are
of them
so
were pretty
fucking
cool.
different.
But I enjoy working with Van Dam a lot.
Oh yeah, I think Van Dam's probably the one. Out of all 3 of them, I think Sabu's probably the most underrated. Even though he,
Yeah, I would say that. I would agree with that.
I mean, the guy. There's a lot of guys out there doing these high spots today that I know they were fucking watching Sabu when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
He was a fucking innovator, and the same thing with RVD. I think out of all 3 of them, with Taz's career, unfortunately, getting cut short, RVD was the one that stood out. He's had, and Sabu's still going. I just watched them both in Impact, and he looked fucking good.
Yeah.
But I think RVD's the one who's gotten the most longevity out of it and probably made the most impact, maybe in the
I would
business.
agree with that.
But it sucks because I like to give Sabu that too because, like I said, I think he's probably one of the most underrated guys in all of the business, for his contributions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What my thing with Sabu is he never got a multi-million-dollar contract.
Yeah, and that's fucked up because look at his body.
That's what pisses me off. But we make good money in ECW, but we didn't make the $500,000 money.
Hey, so
like they do in WCW in New York.
Yeah.
But he made big money in Japan. He did real well in Japan. Basically, his whole career was Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Fonzie. So going back to ECW. Your top tier players, the ones that made the most money there. I'm just curious, what did a wrestler make back then? Like the Van Dams and or the Tazes or anything like that. What?
Well, I'll just tell you what's pretty close to what I made. I made $75,000 a year, and only worked Friday and Saturdays. Had my flight paid for and my hotel.
Goddamn!
That's not bad money. That's pretty decent money for a year, and just working weekends, Friday and Saturday. Fly up Friday, fly home Sunday.
Yeah. Now, back then, you guys were contracted, or were you actually employees of ECW?
We were all contracted after a while. At first, we weren't, but, as much as we started doing pay-per-views and TVs and all that, we had to sign, yeah.
Yeah. So, hey.
The money got better, things got more serious, so, yeah, it was pretty cool.
So, let's hear some old school stuff back from, say, the 80s and stuff like that with... you were around some big names, the Ric Flairs, the Andre the Giants, the Hulk Hogans.
Yes, I was.
How was it hanging out with those guys?
That was my learning period in the business from, I'd say, 1980 when I got my absolute full-time job. My first 6 or 7 years working with guys like Dusty. These were my bosses. Eddie Graham, Dusty, Steve Kern, Walt McDaniel, Dory Bug, J.T. Dillon. So I went through a lot of bookers, and Bob Group was a booker. Michael Hayes was a booker.
Oh,
yeah.
A few more, I'm leaving now. But those guys were great, man. Teaching me, and I was good at what I did. So I was really well liked by the wrestlers, by the office and stuff, because I was really good at what I did for some reason.
Well, I had a question, Sreten here. I was doing a little research on your background when you first started as a ref, and one of the things that a lot of the people were saying about you was your talent with what they would call difficult wrestlers, people with attitudes and that were hard to kind of wrangle. And when you were doing a match for them, and this was before the day of the communicators and Bluetooth and hearing where to go and what to do and timing and all that and signals in the audience, that somehow you were very good at keeping everybody in check. And like when you were mentioning the Sheik match, one of your first big matches, they were saying that would have been very difficult for almost anybody else to referee. How was your attitude with that stuff? How were you able to why were you so well liked? How'd you approach things?
I think I was in the right spot at the right time.
Okay.
I had the right amount of respect. I had the right amount of talent. I had the right amount of charisma and being a mediator and being a guy that was go in there and handle the whole dressing room sometimes. Be diplomatic. So the guys saw that and saw I was so all that being said, I think it just rubbed off and that was unusual, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be so, but I had all these great teachers. That didn't happen overnight. After a few years, I didn't soak it in. I'd be an idiot. I would have got pushed away. But thank God I soaked it in. I love the business. I'm living my dream. Man, how lucky am I? I didn't even know how good I was. I'm saying I didn't know how well I fit in until years later. I said, man, I'm doing all this and well liked. So
Fonzie,
cool for
me and you were talking. Who would you say your biggest like influence like in the business? Like who'd you learn the most from? I know you felt really strong about the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Would you say?
Yeah, Dusty was my guy. I would say him to learn how to treat guys, how to know how to, storytelling and business and, communicate. It's such, man, there was so much more to the business than what people see,
Oh, yeah.
It's great. I would say Dusty is my all-time mentor and took me under his wing. One time I said, 3-4 years later, I said, Dusty, I wish you were my father. My father had passed away by this time. He said, I am your father, Fonzie. You're my boy. So I was with him, worked with him for 20 years, for Florida, TBS, WCW, Atlantic, Japan. Went to Japan with him a bunch of times. Worked with him in New York. He came to WCW and did some shows for us. ECW did a few shows for us.
Speaking of Japan, Fonzie, what's some stuff you can tell us about your experiences over there? You ever? I'm sure. You were around back in the day. You got to work with Muda, didn't you?
Yeah, they sent Muda over. Now, Florida Championship Wrestling was owned by a couple people. Mostly, Eddie Van was a big stockholder. Hiro Matsuda, Japanese, was a big stockholder. Duke Yamaoka. And Hiro Matsuda, a Japanese guy, he was tied up with Japan office, and he would be the American agent to send Japanese and American wrestlers back and forth.
Yeah, he broke fucking Hogan's leg, didn't he? Training him.
Yes, he sure did. He sure did. A hell of a tough guy. So they sent me over there multiple times to referee a match between it was the first time WCW and Fujinami's group ran a joint show at the Tokyo Dome. It was 70,000 people sold out. It was Fujinami against Ric Flair.
Yeah.
They had me do the referee the title match. It was pretty cool. Controversy finish, switch the belt, a gimmick match. But it worked. They thought I'd be perfect for the match, and it was spectacular. I was honored for them to ask me, and I did my job perfectly. They loved it, and they kept bringing me back for years.
That's awesome. Hey, what's the biggest crowd you performed in front of?
Probably whatever WrestleMania was the buy rate and Caesar's Palace. That's a small building, but there was still thousands plus the buy rate. Still good. Madison Square, all the big arenas.
Yeah.
Tokyo Dome was 65,000.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably.
I was going to say that's a lot of people,
lot,
man. That is a ton of people.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Now, what did
They
you
take care of
prefer?
you.
Did you prefer those big events like that, or did you prefer like the smaller, more intimate shows? Like, what did you prefer?
Well, the two answers. Prefer the big events because you get the big payday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some of the smaller events were cool. You didn't have to work you always had to work hard, but I enjoyed working in front. It's easier to work in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
For some reason I find that easy, but it's challenging to work in front of smaller crowds. But if you're just good, it's this is what I did for a living, so I was good.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if it was big or small. And nobody wants to work in front of a small house like a 10,000 seat. There's only 3,000 people. That's not cool, but
Yeah.
that happens. They all can't be sellouts, Steady.
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, so do you still have a good relationship with Paul, or
I haven't talked to him in a while, but yes, when I see him, we have a great relationship. We cross paths. We need anything. I've had a great relationship with Paul Heyman from the 80s till, today. I haven't talked to him in a minute, but I just heard he's going to be working with Monday Night Raw real heavily,
Yeah, he's like the executive now, running Raw. He only
Yeah.
answers to Vince.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what? And I think I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think they.
No, I think it's good.
Yep, I think WWE needs a little bit of a kick in the ass, for a lack of a better term. Because it's I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are kind of just getting a little bored with it.
I think it would Paul Heyman would be great for Vince right now, especially in the transition of the other company popping up.
Yeah.
Step up their A name, but nobody's going to touch Vince. Vince is locked in, but I think there's two companies going to be okay, hopefully.
Yeah.
It takes them guys years. It's just so locked in with the toy people and the movie people, and
Nobody can merchandise like Vince McMahon,
I'd say he's pretty damn good,
I think he's always been
Been
good
with the company a
at.
minute.
Just ask John Cena about that. I'm pretty sure at one point, if they weren't PG, they would have had John Cena dildos or something.
It's crazy, right?
What, Vince has always been one to see kind of, ahead of the curve a little bit. I mean, he got,
He's
not
a
only
third-generation promoter, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, third generation.
Yeah, because I believe Vince Sr. and then Vince Sr.'s dad, I believe, was also like a boxing promoter or something like that. Or
I'm 99% positive on that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's always been able to see kind of a little bit. I don't want to say an oracle, but a little bit been able to see in the future a little bit because he was able to, kind of get his stars into the movies and now they've got obviously the network and they've got all those different like reality shows and stuff like that. So not only are you getting the 3 hours of Raw or the 2 hours of SmackDown, but you're also getting everything else. Plus, hey, imagine
He got his own network.
Exactly.
Network.
Speaking of the network, Fonzie, is that irritating to you? And I know a lot of wrestlers and talent past, and even some presidents have been vocal about not giving like some kind of dividends for
Well, that'd be nice. If Vince bought all the rights, you know what I mean? He could give a little dividends out. It wouldn't hurt him. But still, I'm on those TVs a lot. You can report me. Find me a lot on those things from WCW to Florida to ECW.
Oh yeah.
And Vince's office. So it keeps me relevant. And people say, "Oh, I just seen you on the network." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cool.
Something else I kind of.
So I would like to get a check from them, but
Yeah, no shit.
it happens.
Right?
It happens.
That's
But
like,
I would not do this. A bunch of guys filed a lawsuit trying to sue Vince over that particular thing you said about the royalties and the dividend. And they called me. I said, "Fuck you. Vince is like fucking a king. Look at you, my man.
Yeah.
You never work again."
Yeah, that's right. Fonzie ain't no fucking idiot.
Right. I said, "You guys are fucking crazy."
that shit's crazy.
This shit ain't funny, motherfucker.
We made so much money. Vince paid us for all that shit already. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
He paid us handsomely.
I also want to, Fonzie, I'm going to take a trip back about 9 years ago, to 2010. We're not in ECW anymore. We're not in WWE anymore, or WWF, I should say. We're looking at 2010, a pay-per-view put together by Dixie Carter and Tommy Dreamer in TNA, the Hardcore Justice, the original Hardcore Justice. Which I remember.
Oh, yeah, that was one of their higher-rated pay-per-views.
I believe, and I could be wrong, to this day, I think it is like the highest rated one because it was at a time you had the one night only in 2006, which was awesome, and then it got watered down, and we all know what happened with that. In 2010, you also with TNA, you had a lot opportunity to see stars that you didn't get to see in one night only. Especially, Van Damme. Van Damme couldn't wrestle the original one; he was hurt.
Right.
And especially in Sabu, Van Damme versus Sabu. That was a classic. I loved everything about it, the nostalgia feel of it. Even the lighting had kind of like the old ECW vibe. What was your opinion on that show? How were you approached about it, and what could you tell us about that?
Well, it was pretty cut and dry. Tommy Dreamer worked with Dixie Carter, and then somebody came up. I'm sure it was Tommy Dreamer, and maybe some old people came up with the idea of doing the joint ECW show, and everybody started getting phone calls. And I was like, man, anytime I can get a payday, be a national TV or be in a pay-per-view, it's good.
Yeah.
So they put it together in a matter of a month or two, and it worked out great. I got to be in the main event, I think, with my two guys. It worked really nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. Whenever Van Damme and Sabu, whenever they fought each other, I loved it because you'd walk one down the aisle and then you'd run all the way back and walk the other one. I fucking loved it, man.
I didn't know what to do because they left most of that up to us.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "Hey, this is the format, and you guys fill in the blanks." So I said, "Fuck, what I do?" There's my two boys, so it kind of worked out okay. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, the best is when fucking Van Dam would ask for the fucking chair, and then you wouldn't give it to him, and then Sabu would ask for the chair, then they get fucking pissed.
Now, it made sense to the ECW fans. Now, if you didn't know the three guys in the ring, it might have not made perfect sense, but to you guys, it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you knew the characters and you knew the history, but I think it worked in general.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah. Hey, Fonzie, how about the Dudleys, man? Tell us a little bit about those guys.
I like the Dudley Boyz.
That's Ed's favorite tag team.
Bubba Ray. We were doing a show. I was at ECW for a while already, and I was his boy. You know, he brought me in. He's the owner of the company.
Yeah.
And he's a friend of mine. Plus, I was Fonzie, you know, already a fucking established veteran. And so Bubba came to the dressing room and said, "Hey, my name is Bubba. Oh, my name is Mongo. I'm a wrestler. He's going to get a tryout and all that." We tried him out. He was pretty fucking good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we gave him a shot. And then him and Steve and I got together and became big superstars.
Yeah. Would you say
They were great guys. Hell of workers, both of them.
Who in your opinion is who's your favorite tag team ever? Mine's LOD. I'm a huge Road Warriors mark. So, I mean, I know they weren't the
yeah, and the Road Warriors day, fucking who was better? You know what I mean? The gimmick. There was the first big ones, the big body, the painted face.
Oh,
you know, and all that shit.
And they come out to Black Sabbath, Fonzie. Remember that shit? They come out to Iron Man. They was just they look like these big evil motherfuckers from Chicago. They were gonna fucking invade your dreams.
Just ready to beat everybody's ass.
They were so tough, and I love the Jim Ross thing. They were real big, real hard, real stiff.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, there's so many guys in different eras that were equal to them, but in different times.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like Dexter and Briscoe, in their time, they were fucking fantastic.
Right.
You know, the Road Warriors fantastic. So many different teams, man. Barry Windham, Mike Rotundo, all kind of great teams. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and Jay Youngblood, and 80s in Charlotte. You know, so you have to put it in context of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It's similar to like when
there's
you
that Road Warrior pop. Though and that's a real thing
for sure. Absolutely. I mean, it's almost like comparing different genres of basketball player or baseball player.
Jordan and LeBron.
Yeah.
My thing though with that was what really drew me to the Road Warriors and everything we just discussed was the fact that they literally traveled everywhere. You know, they were NWA tag champs. They were AWA tag champs.
NWA, yeah.
WCW, WWF. I don't think who was it?
Texas. They were
Japan.
They were precursor to
the Dudleys.
Big companies.
Yeah.
You know, right? They took off right before the big companies got big. Right before all the pay-per-views and stuff. They were on their way.
Yeah, and I think the only other tag team, I mean, and we're not sitting here talking about like your local Joe Schmo regional whatever promotion.
Right.
I'm talking about promotions that actually mattered and shit. I think the Dudleys are the only one that have surpassed them as far as like where they've won championships at.
Well, the Dudleys were a freaking big name there.
Let me ask you this, and this might be, I guess, a little controversial in some people's eyes.
All right.
This always bothered me when they would bring guys back, all right? In, like, say, the example, I can give you the Dudleys, I can give you Rob Van Dam, I can give you Rhino, and the list goes on and on and on.
I know where you're going. That's why it pisses me off, too.
But about guys, say they left or whatever, under whatever circumstances, fuck, even Kurt Angle, and they come back to Vince after if it's a couple years or 10 years, and they just get the worst. They're there to put over. They're like jobbers. What's your opinion on some of the maybe mishandling or misbooking of some of these guys?
Well, I think that falls on the wrestlers, but and the promoters, they shouldn't be doing shit like that. But,
and that's my point. I guess really that's my question. Do you think that's kind of like a hey, you fucking left, and maybe to some of those guys, the wrestlers, it may not matter because it's like you said, hey, a paycheck's a paycheck, especially when you get on that stage, but. You would think, like, a guy like RVD, when he came back a few years to WWE. I'm like, cool. Yes, he can put over talent, but he can still do a hell of a run. There's still life left in him and a story to tell. And maybe you throw a strap on him, maybe you don't. But I felt like every match I saw him in, he lost. And it was like, this is fucking Rob Van Dam. We're talking about the guy who beat John Cena at probably the height of John Cena's fucking popularity.
And not only did he lose, he would lose to shitty talent, in my opinion.
And a lot of these guys, the Dudleys, were another one. You know, like they would come in. I'm sitting there thinking, like, fuck, man, like all this great talent, and they come back. And I get it because they got families, they got to do it. They probably don't even give a shit. You know, it's probably just marks or whatever. But like for that character and stuff, I mean, is that irritating to you to kind of watch and see some of like your buds and stuff? Kind of, I'd hate to say the term getting buried, but
yeah, we all look at things different, and I would have done things different a little bit. Yeah, it you know, it's the nature of the business, I guess. You know, it's I guarantee you, Van Dam was being compensated very well. You know. And them's always making great money, and he knows how to demand money. So,
well, the Dudleys
when
are
you
the
get
first.
to that point, you're gliding, and you're making some big paydays. You know, it's okay to get beat.
Yeah, it paid off for the Dudleys too. I mean, they're the first ever, I believe, like true ECW original members inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Yeah, yes. And just remember this: like if you bring Van Dam back and you job him out a little bit. You could always turn them back on the next fucking week.
Right.
Make them
but see, that's
you know
the thing.
what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't really see much of that. And I agree totally with what you're saying. When I saw Van Dam come back, it was just like, there was that hot second where he popped, and yeah, he might have got a win over then, I don't know, Kofi Kingston or somebody, you know, back then, which wasn't necessarily a big deal. But then the rest of the time, it was just like booking him into the fucking dirt.
Yeah, yep.
Which I'm sure, you know, RVD.
You're right. Yeah, that did bother me a lot. Not only in Van Dam, but you know, we've seen it over and over.
I'm sure RVD was probably like, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Light up another one.
How's Van Dam been? You talked to Van Dam or Sabu?
Yeah, I talked to Van Dam, you know, a lot, and I just talked to Sabu last month. They're both living in Vegas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, RVD, I mean, he went through that divorce. He's with, what's her name, Katie Forbes. Big booty Katie Forbes, goddamn,
She got
man.
a big ass. Yeah, she sure does.
He liked my tweet. It was funny because he posted a tweet the other day, and he's been genuine to a lot. That's the one thing I will say about Rob is I've always heard he's a very nice and genuine dude.
Yeah, he's real people. He's real people.
Yeah, for sure. Someone was asking about his divorce, and he's like, hey, man, he's like, no love lost here. He's like, I got divorced like a couple years ago. It's finally just been finalized. Like, I'm living my best life now, or like doing something. And it shows him in the hot tub with Katie Forbes and a bunch of other like big titty, big booty bitches like shaking their shit. And Van Dam's just sitting in the jacuzzi like, yeah.
Yeah, poor Van Dam. Oh, boy.
I know, like, she's just shaking that ass, man. And I'm sitting, I tweeted and I was like, RVD 420 hashtag, like living his best life, and he liked that shit. Fuck yeah, you know he's
nice.
Yeah, he deserves it, man. You know that sucks. That was a rough story to hear about too. How he, you know, took care of his sick wife, and then she kind of, I don't know what happened there. I'm not gonna pretend like I know, but from outsider looking in, it was like she ended up getting better or something. And the next thing you know, like it wasn't good enough that the dude took time off of his career on top of the world.
Yeah, you know how things are in marriage. You know, sometimes they last.
Yeah.
Wrestlers have a terrible history of marriage, but some guys make it through.
Yeah, you know what? I was a teenager. My dad surprised me and got me front row tickets to ECW when
we were talking about this, Fonzie, the other day. Go ahead.
When ECW came through Gary, Indiana, at the Genesis Center. Man, like I couldn't.
I was there.
Yeah, I could not believe that ECW was coming to Gary, Indiana. I mean, I lost my shit and everything, but that's when Van Dam had to cancel because he was taking care of his wife got sick at the time, you know, and I was super stoked.
The accident too. That might have been the problem.
Yeah, yep. And it was and I'll tell you what, man, that Gary, the thing I loved about ECW, it didn't matter if that talent was wrestling in front of 10 people, 1,000 people, or, you know, whatever. You know, it was the same badass Raw event. Like they were getting, getting paid. Yeah, it was like they were getting paid millions of dollars. That's how hard they went. And I mean, that shit just isn't around anymore.
Unusual workplace, unusual work ethic with all the different young talent trying to. You got to remember, there was no big superstars. There was a lot of guys that broke into ECW that hadn't been nowhere. Sandman, who the fuck was Sandman? Tommy Dreamer?
Yep.
Yeah.
All these guys, who the fuck were they? Paul Heyman made all these guys stars in ECW,
Yes,
so they were dedicated, you know. It was pretty cool circumstances for me to work for. I really enjoyed it. And then Gary, and then if I recall, it wasn't a big show, like there wasn't thousands of people. It was a small building, a small show, you know what I mean? But still, the guys go out there and bust their ass.
Yeah. Hey, Fonzie, so having such a badass career like you've had, if you can go back in time and you can put together like the ultimate match, who would you put up against each other, and what kind of a match would it be?
Okay, we'll come back to that, and maybe at the next thing, because I was asked that same question. I did a podcast or something for Turnbuckle Trash Talk Radio or something not too long ago, and they asked me the same question, and we put a card up. It was like a WrestleMania card, and I designed all the matches and stuff. You know, it was pretty good. It was cage matches and a woman's match, all kind of things. So I have to see if I can find that, pull it up, and tell you guys the answer, because it was pretty good. It was a pretty good card. You guys would have loved it.
Oh, hell yeah. Share it with us.
School ECW guys. They were pretty cool.
Fuck yeah. Well, hey, Fonzie, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. Where can people find you, man?
I do. I got a pretty cool Instagram I like doing, and of course, Facebook, you know, Bill Fonzie Alfonso.
Yeah, on both Facebook and Instagram, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm enjoying doing that. I got my niece working with me. She's just graduated from a big tech school, and she's media friendly and stuff. And she's I'm enjoying talking with everybody and meeting new people and stuff. A lot of wrestling fans out there. I was surprised.
Oh yeah.
Well, Van Damme's got 1 million people who follow them, you know. So,
yeah, he does.
I'm not even close to that, but it's been pretty cool for me to do that.
Yeah, you take your time.
And it keeps me relevant, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I mean, well, you've always been relevant in our eyes, dude. Like I said, I was.
Oh,
super,
thanks, Daddy.
No problem, man. I was super stoked, like when you replied back, because you could have fucking picked anybody, but you picked the juice. So you know, like to get wet with us, and that's fucking all good, man. I had a great fucking time. And I just want to let people know, too, I know you're not very active on it, but Fonzie is also on Twitter, too, if you use the handle at Alfonso Bill. I know you don't use it that much, Fonzie, but I had to throw it out.
Yeah, I don't use it that much, but, you know, I got an account, but I like the
a follow's a follow.
And,
but, yeah, I'd like to thank you for coming on, man. We barely scratched the surface, I think, in this episode, so we're going to have you back again. And
yeah, absolutely. We didn't talk about the alligators. We didn't talk about Barry Windham getting shot. We didn't talk about Piper shooting an alligator. We didn't talk about all kinds of shit. So airplane crashes almost. Guys crying. Yeah.
Hell yeah. This is awesome. Man, you should put out a book, Fonzie.
Yeah, I've been approached a few times, and I'm working on it.
You should call it Hardcore Memoirs.
Something. We'll come up with a good name. But I like that.
Hell yeah. All right, well, I'd like to thank the legendary Bill Alfonso for coming on Juice Pro Wrestling episode 66.
Who calls it right down the middle.
I'm a legend in my own mind, Daddy.
Yeah.
That's what I like to fucking hear. And there's one more thing we got to do before we close out. We got to wet 'em up, wet 'em up, wet 'em up, wet 'em up.
You gonna do sex to me?